Closed captioning for A Piece of the Woods was made possible by Shorter Log Home Supply, providing for the log builders for 20 years. Underwriting for A Piece of the Woods was brought to you by Tenonizer Technology, 25 years providing the log industry equipment and techniques to simplify perfection. Great Woods Cabinetry, providing custom cabinetry and more to the Twin Cities and now everywhere, from online to on-site. From Minnesota, an online resource for log enthusiasts. And Quality Manufacturing, building quality portable sawmills is in their reputation.
Log accent building is becoming more popular as desire and technology come together. This log truss with a little roof on it is being placed in front of the office building here in Brainerd, Minnesota. But what I want you to look at is the technology used in creating this work of art. Mortise and tenon, with about $20,000 in equipment to make it happen. Today, on A Piece of the Woods, you will see our first attempt at building a similar truss with just a few hand tools upside down. So stay tuned and see if I listen close enough to get it right the first time. The first thing that we need to deal with is the footing for our post. Now this cardboard tube is actually, it's the form for the concrete. Now there's one just like this buried down underneath of that post. Now it's very important that you use like this. This is a smooth cardboard and there's nothing for the frost to grab a hold of. When the ground freezes, if you just dig a hole down into the dirt, pour it full of concrete, then the frost freezes around the top of the hole and it just picks the whole thing up. But with this concrete tube, there's nothing for the frost to grab a hold of, and it will not move up and down with the frost. That's very important. Now for our post itself, we've already brought the posts over, they've already installed them, but I brought another one here so you can see how we've arranged this post to work. Now, coming up through the concrete and set into the top of our concrete form over there is one of these 1-inch bolts, all right? Now this bolt set down into the concrete, and here at the base of this post, you can see where this is sticking up here. You see that down there, the bolt sticking through the concrete? Okay. Now this is threaded, and we need to keep a couple things in mind. One, wood rots. You don't want your post to rot out. That's why the post is up off of the concrete. It's a couple inches here. Now, in order to adjust the height and to place the post firmly in place, there's a plate like this up inside of our post that's bolted into place. And then it's turned down onto our anchor bolt that's set into the concrete. Last in line, you see this little edge right here that's been cut in here? This is a drip edge. When the water comes down the post, it doesn't travel back in to the base of the post where it could rot it out. The water comes to this little drip edge and it'll just drip right off to, like right here. It'll just come down and drip off of the post rather than traveling underneath. Now this is a 100-year post. If it was setting right onto the concrete, you might only get 15 years out of it and it would be rotted away, but that would be really bad. Well, we're at the Northson work site and we need to get some numbers to build this thing. Plumb cut on the end and the bottom cord across to the bottom.
Well, I've got to have something to work with as far as height.
So still come. What do you mean come? Why do I have to come down at an angle? Yeah. You got 2x8 and decking going on top of it. Or decking and then 2x8 away. Are you gonna, what do you got going on top of the deck? Because you're gonna trim it off anyhow. 130 inches.
If that's what you mean.
Well, we've got our numbers now, so let's go make a log truss. Well, this is CERT. The guys got her all done. This is our gravity-defying truss manufacturing facility. First time ever used any place. It looks a little bit odd because it is infinitely adjustable as far as different slope of roof and different spacing of webbing and things like that. This one, we're going to set the rafters in here upside down, then we're going to cut the ridge, then we'll add the webbing. We're just going to be using chainsaw and a scriber for the most part. But we're ready to go over now and cut the rafters, so that's a good place to start. We've got one of our rafters on the deck right now. We're just going to take a little thin shave off the top to get enough of a flat spot to mount the decking. We're just going to snap a line down the middle of our rafter here. That'll be our reference point for fastening it to CERT. And I'm marking where I'm going to drill the holes for this to fasten to CERT so we can set it in the fixture. Now, we've got to get, you see the curve on here, we have to make a right-hand curve, we've got to make a left-hand curve, so when they go together, they work with each other rather than against each other. We're going to take this and swing it over into the other room where we can start assembling this thing now. It's kind of a Dickens where everything that you handle is more than you can handle. So you got to pick it up with something. Now, these little marks, oh, they even line up. What a deal. Now this is going to be a freehand cut with a chainsaw here, but we are going to cheat a little bit. I've got a plumb line on the piece of plywood behind here and a square line coming out from it. So it's going to give me a sight line to cut it with a chainsaw. And I'll get fairly close, and then we'll take it to step 2. jack pine tree would make about 4 of these landscape timbers at about $3.95 a piece, or it'd probably make 9 2x4s at about $2.85 a piece. We could chop the thing up in pieces and throw it in here, and it'd keep the house warm for a couple of days. We could deliver the tree to Wausau Paper, get about $7-8 for it, and they'd turn it into enough paper to make maybe 10,000 of these catalogs for Tenonizer. But properly handled and processed, this tree could make 2 $200 log trim packs like this for window trim. When I first started building log homes in '78, the going rate was $10 per lineal foot of log that went into this full Scribe style log wall. Today, in a piece of high quality log furniture, the going rate can also reach $10 per lineal foot of material. But it's going to have to be a very well built piece to pull that kind of a price. So what do you think? A semi-truckload of log house logs versus a pickup truckload of log furniture logs, and they both bring in the same paycheck. Well, of course, depending upon the quality of the furniture.
Into the Woods was underwritten by Quality Manufacturing.
Now, we found that it's important to put this second set of bolts in to hold it in place, just to keep it from sliding to the side, if nothing else, and having to redo the cut. Well, we're going to tighten these down right here. We've got these set so our angle, of course, is precise, and the 2 little points that make the ridge once we turn our truss back right side up, they match exactly now. So we're going to tighten her down right here. And we should be able to just pull the numbers here and have it all work out. We come up 112 inches for our rafter length. And we can mark from there, square that off since our fixture here is so nice and square and straight and all of that. We're going to check our numbers, make sure our math says everything's correct here. We should have 15 6.5 to this line that we just put on here. We're within about a 32nd. We're going to call that perfect right there. And then the challenge is, okay, how do you get a straight line? We need to be able to cut this end off. And you can't just mark it with a square because that won't work. So we're going to use a plumb line. We're going to make gravity our friend here again. We're going to sight the line on the bottom. I can sight that and sight the string at the same time and trace this down. Now we could take a light and cast a shadow onto the log with the light and trace that down, but if I hold still, this works very good. And then we'll just keep working this all the way around. I'll have to bring a ladder in here and stuff. Once I have a spot started that is precise, then I can just work my way the rest of the way around this log and then cut it off. As long as I got something to follow with a chainsaw, we can get it cut off. All we got left here is just to plane up the end here, and we'll sand it nice and smooth, and then we're going to go to the king post in just a couple minutes. A truss is just a series of triangles, and we're going to be building this bigger triangle. You see where the bottom cord is going to be here. There it goes. This is where the bottom of our bottom cord is going to be, and then we're going to take the king post and set it in right here. And we're going to be making 2 more triangles, and 1 triangle here and another triangle here. And then we're going to add the webbing, a piece that comes from here coming down, another one from here coming down, making more triangles. But it's a geometric form. The more triangles you got precisely placed, anyhow, the stronger the whole thing gets. And we're going to cut this a little extra long. I've got a bell on the end of this thing we're going to cut off. Our working piece is going to be 5 foot. So we have some to trim off. Adding it on is a real pain. That doesn't work very well. But now that brings us to a question here. Here, see the log surface that we've got here? How in the world did we get it like this? Now, I know it looks like it's draw knife cut, but it's not done with a draw knife, or you would get to things like this knot here, and the knot would not be smooth and clean. It'd be a real mess if you did it just with a draw knife. So we're going to look at that while I fix this log up here.
And I'm going to make it look like it has been hand draw knifed. When I first got my Makita planer, my curve-based planer here, I really had a lot of trouble keeping chatter out of my cut, and I'll kind of show you what that looks like. I don't know if you can see that real well, but in dim light you otherwise would. It looks really terrible, and what I learned is that I need to keep the material right on this front foot of the planer, and as I move along, I want, and this might sound weird, but I want the wood to be only impacted by the planer knife itself. So in essence, I'm just gliding across the wood. All that's touching is the planer knife after I've initially made contact material. Now before I'm all finished, I'll go through and I'll cover up, or I'll sand out all of the planer tracks with the inflatable drum sander, and that really does a nice finish job. Very last piece of advice I'll give you is always tuck in your shirt. I've gone through about 5 of them, and it'll eat you right up. And it's a pain in the rear to try to take it out of the blade.
Okay, what we got is this. I've got the first of the 5 cuts done. When we do a scribe where we can do it on a plumb line, we can be absolutely precise. It is a science. So we got this one done, come straight down. We're going to do the 3 pieces in 3 separate pieces. So we got the first one done. Now let's go to the webbing. Now what we've got here, what I was able, it worked, okay? I did a vertical scribe here, so this one came straight down, and on the other one up here, I did a horizontal scribe, so it came right in a level line on this one. Now, doing it like this, it's not an absolute exact anything. It's close, but that's about it. So I had to do it a large scribe, then a smaller one, and then touch it up after the end. I want to take you through the process of what we did to get the webbing in here. First off, we made a pattern that matched our 34 degrees of our rafter. So our webbing is also going to be in here at 34 degrees. So that's our pattern. And cut the log to match our pattern. And then took and made the little rough notches here so we can just, it's a rough scribe to get it set into place. Not a scribe, it's just a rough cut to get it into place. And now you can set it in place and do our initial scribe. And this might call for, and this will, it'll call for at least 1 more scribe and maybe another touch-up, because this is not an exact science on this one. see how we are for number one shot at this. Huh? Not too bad. Not perfect yet, but not bad. I think I've got it. It looks good on this side. How's it look on your side? What we're going to do what we did on the other side with these two screws and these. Well, I've got this all ready to scribe into place, and I should be able to make this one with one scribe only. Well, we're at our last scribe of our last piece, and we've come to the conclusion that this does work much better. Looks like we just need to snug it up into place, and it's going to fit absolutely perfect. Now we're going to put one of the little starbursts right here. We're going to put another starburst right there, and oh, what's a starburst? That's one of those holes like this where we drill the 2 1/8 inch hole or 2 9/16. Drill the bigger hole and put 5 or 6 of those long black screws in there, and then one plug over the top. That's a starburst. So we're there.
For a copy of this episode, or for questions and information, go to www.apieceofthewoods.com. Closed captioning for A Piece of the Woods is made possible by Shorter Log Home Supply, providing for the log builders for 20 years. Underwriting for A Piece of the Woods was brought to you by Tenonizer Technology, 25 years providing the log industry equipment and techniques to simplify perfection. Great Woods Cabinetry, providing custom cabinetry and more to the Twin Cities and now everywhere, from online to on-site. From Minnesota, an online resource for log enthusiasts. And Quality Manufacturing, building quality portable sawmills is in their reputation.